RIA Novosti, meanwhile, is reporting that, well, there was talks between Zelensky and French President Macron in France yesterday. And Macron promised 2 billion euros worth of military aid to Kiev regime. And also they agreed on deliveries of additional batch of Mirage fighter jets to Kiev-controlled territory that are going to be piloted by French pilots. I'm quite sure about it. Or the pilots that they might recruit worldwide that have experience of working with that planes. Also today, by the way, I believe they're gonna be meeting. They're gonna be meeting in France of this coalition of willing, so-called coalition of willing, dozen of countries that are UK and France want to put together to fight Russia. Basically, they want some armored group to be created by these countries and then send to Ukraine to basically fight Russia. And even though nowadays reports are coming in that this idea of sending NATO troops from European states to Ukraine is less and less popular among European states themselves, seems like UK and France still are on that page. They still did not change their approach, which means that globalists did not change their approach. So most likely, they will go ahead with deployment of their troops. And on that very topic, Zelensky demanded actually from EU combat troops, not peacekeepers, as Starmer, Prime Minister of UK, and Macron, French President, were formulating. Not peacekeepers, but they want, the regime wants combat troops. So European countries should deploy combat troops to Ukraine, ready to fight, rather to conduct a peacekeeping mission. Vladimir Zelensky's senior aider told AFP on Wednesday. Igor Zhovka made the appeal ahead of Paris summit of their coalition of willing countries across Europe and beyond that are ready to provide security guarantees to Ukraine. And then quote here, "We need a serious trained troops. We are ready to fight. Who are ready to fight?" The official clarified that Kiev is not seeking European forces to engage directly with the Russian troops, but rather to bolster Ukraine's defensive capabilities. We are not talking about soldiers who will fight with Russia, but about those who will defend, who will deter, he said. And what a crazy formulation, isn't it, of the sentences. So on one side, they are saying that those troops not gonna fight Russians, and same time they are saying that those troops gonna defend us from Russia, which means they're gonna fight with Russia, right? These people are too stupid, man, really. I mean, these people, these puppets of the globalists are just too stupid. And probably they don't really understand what they are talking about. If you give them their own statements, probably they will struggle to understand what those statements mean or what is said by those statements, because they are contradicting each other. They might say 3 sentences, and in each sentence they will contradict each other. That's how stupid these elements are, man. That globalists are choosing to put in a position of power, because stupid people can be manipulated easier. I mean, one can understand why globalists are doing this, because it's just easier, These stupid people will sign up on for anything, right? So it is easier to control, to manipulate that way for the globalists. And when it comes to globalists, of course, British royal family is a main driving, and British aristocracy in general is a main driving force behind the globalists, right? We all know that. Not just, but they are main driving force for sure. One of the main, at least. Let's continue. And the RT is reporting that Poland only has ammo for 2 weeks of war, allegedly. And this was said by security chiefs. So Poland has munition to hold their line for up to 2 weeks in the event of war until Allied forces arrive. The head of their country's National Security Bureau has said. Dariusz Lukowski told local broadcaster Polsat News on Wednesday that Poland has been increasing arms production to build a sufficient capacity to resist a potential Russian attack. The NATO member shares a 144-mile border with Russia's Kaliningrad exclave. Moscow has consistently denied having aggressive intentions towards NATO countries and insists that the Ukraine conflict was triggered by the military bloc's expansion towards Russian borders. Asked whether Poland's reserves might only last for 5 days of war, Lukowski said that was possible in many areas and types of munition, true not across all categories of munition. I believe that depending on how the fighting unfolds, we could maintain defense operations for a week or two with their current level of stockpiles, he said. So interesting. I did not expect that. I mean, 2 weeks, really? And the Polish leadership loves to brag about how capable their military forces are and that kind of stuff. And just 2 weeks of fighting? I mean, this is joke. But anyways, by the way, Russia not gonna attack no Poland, no any other country. If not provoked, by the way, we are not going to even think about conducting some preemptive strikes or whatever. So therefore, Polish people should not worry about it, because Russia has no plans to wage war against their country. But still, information is quite interesting, isn't it? That Polish army, which is, I guess, one of the biggest and most capable among European NATO member states, only has munition for approximately two weeks of high-intensity battles. Wow. Anyways, let's continue, dear friends. And RT is reporting that EU tells its citizens to stockpile food. European Union has advised its 450 million inhabitants to stockpile essential supplies sufficient for at least 72 hours, citing increasing risks of war, cyber attacks, climate change, and disease. I mean, this guy is not gonna stop threatening the people, isn't it? Because more you threaten people, easier than to control these people. That's the motivation behind these constant attempts to terrify people in Europe. And I'm afraid they are quite successful in this, and I guess millions or potentially tens of millions of people will listen to these psychos, and they will start stockpiling food for 72 hours. Why not 150 hours or 300 hours or 1,000 hours? Why only 72 hours? But that's a whole different topic, This is crazy, man. This is crazy, but fear is a tool in hands of the globalists, right? And they are using it quite effectively, I'm afraid. RT is also reporting that EU rearmament, meanwhile, EU rearmament plan meets resistance over their debt concerns. So Southern European states have been pushing back against the EU plan to ramp up military spending through loans, and concerns it could deepen their already heavy debt burdens. Politico reported on Wednesday, the so-called Rearm Euro plan, unveiled this month by European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, calls for up to 800 billion euros or $850 billion in debt and the tax breaks for the bloc's military-industrial complex. The proposal includes 150 billion loan package and an emergency closure to loosen the EU fiscal rules. However, according to unnamed EU diplomats cited in the report, some countries have serious doubts about taking on additional debt. France, Italy, and Spain have been reportedly advocating grants or so-called defense bonds rather than loans. Such bonds would require joint EU borrowing on capital markets, a move that needs unanimous approval from all 27 member states. Well, there is some fictions, by the way. As I was saying, since forever, EU never was some solid unity, right? EU member states have plenty of issues domestically and when it comes to relationships with their neighbors. And in many cases, EU member states have bad relationships or extremely bad relationships with their neighbors, right? So therefore, I think globally is going to struggle to turn this continent, this part of the continent, Eurasian continent, by the way. I mean, there is no European continent, such a thing, isn't it? It's Eurasia. So I think globalists will struggle to turn this European part of the Eurasia into some state-looking entity, despite the attempts, because of this internal division. And that's why globalists is going to struggle to create European army and to militarize Europe in a way that EU may become a somewhat similar force to that US is. The US was and still is a main enforcer of the Western ruling class, right? And attempts of globalists to create from EU something similar is going to fail. 100%, by the way. I mean, there's no questions about it. And this information just confirms that sides barely can agree on anything, really. Hello everyone, if you find this video informative and interesting, if you like my work in general, please consider to support this independent media project from Russia. You can do it through several means, through PayPal with donations or by subscribing to my Patreon and Boosty pages, where you can have access to full news updates. Links are on this video in the description box and in the pinned comment. Thank you.